Dennis or myself?
Dennis?
Yes. Well, I guess the question is who, well, look, let me tell you who I am. I'm Dennis Kainen. I represent people with tax problems and criminal problems. We don't do planning. My firm is Weisberg and Kainen, and my partner, Alan, is sitting at that table. We look at it not from the bank side. We represent individuals that come to us who don't know whether or not they have an obligation to file certain forms, or they do know and they've ignored it, or they have filed certain forms but not other forms, or they've lied on their tax returns, or they haven't filed tax returns, or they're not sure if they lied on their tax returns. We see the gamut of individuals. And South Florida is a wonderful place because you could probably walk up and down Flagler Street and meet a myriad of people that have fled from somewhere and have certain requirements that they haven't complied with. And so those are the typical type of people that we represent. A typical client will come into the office and will say, well, I started coming here back in 1990 or 1985, but I would go back and forth to my home in Venezuela, and you can fill in the blank, just depending on what the front page says that day of what dictator is doing what to whom. And so those individuals come here, and sometimes they either don't go back or they leave the United States for short periods of time. And they may not realize at that point they have made themselves susceptible to becoming a U.S. person for purposes of our tax laws. Sometimes they don't know. Sometimes they're not sure, and sometimes they don't know how many days they've been here. One of the interesting things about the United States is when we, unlike many countries, when we leave the country, no one stamps our passport to say that we've left the United States. When we come in, they stamp our passport, which can be good, or it can lead to a lot of mischief because then a person doesn't really know how many days they were here. So the typical client comes to us not just now, as Stanley was explaining, during this voluntary disclosure program, but before. And there will be people, no matter how many times you extend the program, there will be people that will come in. If they extend it to 2014, there'll be someone on January 2nd that comes in and says, you know, I just read something that says there's some kind of program that says that I have to file something, and I really don't know what it is, but I've been living in Aventura, and I haven't filed. So what do you do? So in that situation, what you first want to start out with is you want to try to determine whether they're a U.S. person or not. Sometimes it's easy because they've lived here, and they've lived here continuously pursuant to a weighted test day count. Or sometimes they haven't lived here, but they realize that, oh, I was born in the United States. We had a client born in the United States, left for high school to Europe, and has never been back. And that happens also. All those scenarios which are consistent with the vagaries of human conduct and human relationships can apply. So the role of a practitioner is to determine where that person falls in. And what we like to do in that situation is we like to gather all the facts and all the information, and then work with someone like Stanley, who will assist us in the actual crunching of the numbers, and we'll work with getting the records, getting the financial records, which can be oftentimes difficult, but now is a little easier since the United States beat up on UBS. They became a little more amenable to turning over some of their records when requested. So you gather the records, and there are certain reporting requirements that an individual has. And I'm not going to get into all the nuances, specifics, but essentially, if you have a foreign bank account, and what does that mean? Do you have a foreign bank account? Are you a signator? Is there a trustee? Do you have a beneficial interest? All these things are addressed in the law, but essentially, you may fall in one of those categories, in which case you have a responsibility to file a certain form, what they call the FBAR, and you have to file it by June 30th of the year subsequent to the year in which you had the account. And the account needs to had on any one day in excess of $10,000 in a one-day calendar year. So let's say we're now in end of August 2011. So if somebody, our mystical person who just left Venezuela, comes to the United States, Chavez hiccups, and they decide enough is enough, and they come to the United States next month, and then they stay, and then and they've been traveling back and forth. You make a determination: have they been here enough time? But come June 30th, 2012, they may have to file a certain form. And so it's the responsibility of the practitioner to explain to the client, you have to file this form. There's also other forms that need to be filed, which include the forms for if you have a trust, if you have a corporation, things like that. We have the great opportunity now with the extension through September 9th, and then there actually recently the IRS had get us some stuff in by August 31st, and then you can request a 90-day extension. Something that a lot of clients don't understand is it is a crime not to report your foreign bank accounts, not to report certain corporate entities. It is a crime. And oftentimes, Richard, the conversation we'll have with a client is, well, how will they know? Will they ever find out? And how much will it cost me? And we do not see our role as co-conspirators with a client to assist him in evading U.S. law. So we explain, look, this is what the law is. This is what your responsibilities are. I'm not here to tell you that they will catch you or they won't catch you, because you can never, you can never do a good enough job. If you give them advice that they have to file and they don't, and 10 years later they come back to you and see, aha, I didn't file and I saved all that money. So I tell clients, the decision is yours. It's my responsibility to tell you what the law is, and it's my responsibility to instruct you as to how we as a practitioners can assist the client. It's not my responsibility to help you conspire to violate